Let's hop into value dogs. Let's close out this NFL conversation.
I love it. Did you go first last week or did I?
I think I went first last time. You can take this one.
All right. Well, this week it is now, what is it? Is it week 8 for the NFL?
Week 8.
Wow. Sound up Seattle's week 8 value dogs with the first pick. I'm going to do it. The Seahawks +3 against the Bills. I think I'm pretty confident in this team. And, I like the +3 line. For all the reasons we discussed previously. I know you're a little bullish on it, but I'm kind of into it.
No, man, I'm with you. +3 is a good line there. It's a good number of points. If they get 80% of the defense they got last week, I think they could easily win this game. So, +3 is a good spot.
They're also at home. I think it's at Lumen Field. That's actually that's a real advantage there. So
I forgot about that. I kind of figured it was in Western New York, but love that for the boys.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to? Normally we expound a bit, but we kind of just talked about the game.
No, I'm good. I think I've got my point across about why I think the Bills are not that good. So
Sure, fair enough. All right. With my first pick, there are a couple juicy ones here, but yeah, I guess this doesn't make any sense to me, so I'll just take it. I'm going to take the Cardinals +3.5 against the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I figured you were going to take that one today.
Cardinals are just perpetually competitive, man. They're perpetually competitive. They're 3-4. Dolphins are 2-5 and awful. I'm not sure if anybody's coming back for the Dolphins. I don't know if Tua's getting close to being ready. But
he's supposed to be back this week, is I think why this line is where it's at, but...
Totally. And that makes sense. It has to be. Otherwise, it would make no sense at all. But even if that's the case, it doesn't stop the fact that the Dolphins' defense is bottom 5 in the NFL, and this Cardinals offense is going to be able to exploit it. If this turns into a shootout, which is kind of best case scenario for the Dolphins, you're getting 3.5 points on a team that has probably a coin flip chance to win. This line does not make a lot of sense to me. Tua's coming back from his 23rd concussion. Dude's got several traumatic brain injuries at this point, and I'm sorry for the guy, but there's no reason to expect that he'll come back better than before. Probably the opposite. So, 3.5 points. A lot of points. Give me MHJ.
Yeah, I like it. Did Marvin Harrison, I know he had a concussion. He played last week. Did he do much last week? I don't actually rember. I think that might have been the issue with the Cardinals, but... Yeah,
20 or 30 yards. He wasn't... It was really more of the... not Dalton Kincaid, who's their tight end, Trey McBride show. So, yeah, they were effective on the ground with James Conner, I think, for whatever reason. MHJ, he just hasn't been a big part of the offense the last couple of weeks, but he'll get there.
Yeah, totally fair. One thing that I want to touch on while we're in this paused moment, I want to touch on the current, or I guess last 7 days of underdogs and where they're at currently in the season. So what I want to give you is the underdogs against the spread. This last week went 6-8, way better than last time, but we also clipped half of those. John, you went 2-1 last week. You are now up to 8-13 on the week or on the season. And your boy, I went 1-2. So we got 3 of the 6 underdogs, which is actually pretty good numbers wise. We got 3 of the 6.
We'll take it.
And I am now 7-14.
I hear the third year is where you really hit your stride.
We should really do this as an exercise of us against each other. It shouldn't be us trying to win people money. It should be who can get the most underdogs.
We should put like $20 on it every year.
That's what we should do.
The other, yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to touch on that. So yeah, 43% last week, and on the season they're 45% against the spread. So we're still not very close, but down year for the underdogs. Very sure.
Favorites year. They heard us last year. Vegas is listening in, and they were like, damn, these Seattle guys, they cracked us. Better start pushing the lines towards the favorites.
Some other notes. Away underdogs perform better than home underdogs. I think that's something that will even out as the season goes along. But a lot of times I feel like the first 6 weeks of the season, they give the lines more to the favorites and say, okay, we don't actually know how good this team is. We'll give them -2.5. And I feel like there's been a lot of 2.5, 1.5 lines that will come around, and those will start to be 3.5, 4.5, and we'll be able to catch those games. But with that being said, my second pick for Week 8, Sound Up Seattle Value Dogs, I'm going with John's Indianapolis Colts +5.5 against the Houston Texans.
Let's go.
I have this line because this is a game that will determine who is the number one seed in the is that AFC South?
That's correct.
And yeah, if the Colts win this game, they'll be sitting pretty at the number one seed. They're going to be trying their hearts out. And I believe that Anthony Richardson is back. Is that correct? And he didn't necessarily perform last week. But CJ Stroud and the Texans haven't been super impressive offensively. Defensively, obviously, they're stellar, especially at their defensive line. And I just think this is an opportunity for Richardson to either escape out of the pocket and run for big gains, or get injured and Joe Flacco to come back and get them within 5 points. So
if Flacco was playing, this line would be -1.5. I'll tell you what.
Exactly. So I like this line. I think 5.5 is a lot of points. And yeah, in what I think will be a tight, lower scoring affair, probably in the low 20s. I think that's a good amount of value.
Yeah, it's a lot of points, and that's the best argument. Jonathan Taylor's also coming back from injury.
Yep.
When he's healthy, he's one of the best running backs in the NFL. I'm not taking this one. I've watched too much Colts this year. They're just not that good offensively, and they're not that good defensively, but I understand their reasoning. 5 points is a lot, and man alive, if you look at some of the spreads this week, it's just a lot of really good teams playing some really bad teams.
Yes.
There are 3 10-point lines, a couple 7, 8-point lines. Nobody wants to take the Raiders. Nobody wants to take the Panthers. Nobody wants to take the Titans. So,
and when John says nobody, he's talking about us. We have very slim pickings in our value dogs.
Correct. So, we're taking what we can get here, and I do like that among what's available. With my second pick of the value dog week, I'm taking the New Orleans Saints +7 against the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, the Saints have completely collapsed since their start. I think they've lost every single game since their 2-0 start. I believe they're 2-5 now.
Yes, correct.
Absolute collapse from them. Their defense is mediocre. Their offense is not the same without Derek Carr, and it wasn't very good when Derek Carr was
crazy to say that, yeah.
Yeah, kind of whack. But the main thing for me here is, would I be surprised if the Saints beat the Chargers? Not really. I'm not a huge believer in the Chargers yet. I know a lot of the stat heads are all in on them, but their offense is still so undynamic to me. I can't be impressed. I know they've got a good defense, but their offense just doesn't scare me. And 7 points is a lot of points. Chargers could win this game 6-0. This is going to be a game decided by field goals. It's going to be low scoring. 7 seems like too many points against a Saints team that dropped 40 in the first 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah, the reason that you would go against this pick is because the Saints are starting Spencer Rattler at quarterback, and
there is that, the Rattler factor.
But the Chargers just lost 15-17 against the Cardinals, who we've talked about all season as having one of the worst defenses in the league. As John spills just a little water on the side of his face.
I'm doing my best.
So I think the Chargers offense just has not had any good receiving weapons all season, and that hasn't changed. They haven't added anybody to make them a scary offensive threat. They're -7 after losing by 2 to the Cardinals. I'm going to repeat that. They're -7 after losing by 2 to a below 500 team. There's no reason they should be -7. The Saints have they've scored a lot of points when Derek Carr was there, but the Chargers aren't going to score more than 20 points. That's just their offense. Their defense is great, but I think the Saints are still going to be able to score 14 points,
Yeah, they're starting on the 30-yard line. You're telling me they can't kick 3 field goals? That's all they need is 3 field goals.
Yeah.
Literally 3 field goals would cover the spread against the Cardinals last week. And as bad as the Saints defense is, it's better than the Cardinals defense. So, I agree. Chargers, I really think they're going to win this game. Chargers money line, I'd parlay that in all sorts of things, but 7 is just too many points.
Yeah, 100%. I had this, that was my number 4 pick if you took any of my 3, but you haven't. And so with my third and final pick for the Sound Up Seattle Week 8 value dogs, we are going with the Dallas Cowboys +4.5 against the San Francisco 49ers.
Wow.
We talked about the 49ers and how beat up they are. And for the Cowboys, this is like a need to win this game. Like the Cowboys have been kind of irrelevant all season. And especially in their conference, like Washington has just taken the conference by storm. Even the Eagles are not doing as well as they have been in previous years, but the Eagles have surpassed the Cowboys and they're just kind of falling by the wayside. And against a 49ers team that like I said, is very beat up. George Kittle is going to be their main offensive weapon. And then a guy who got shot at the beginning of the season is also going to be their number 2 offensive weapon. It's like the 49ers team is a little bit ruined. Deebo just got injured. Brandon Ayuk just got injured. Like, it's just, they're all over the place. And this is the one chance for the Cowboys to be like, hey, we're still relevant. And I just had to take this 4.5 line. 4.5 is a lot of points in a game that I think, again, will be decided in the 20s.
Yeah, this is like, people would have made this as like a NFC championship prediction, but it's like the bad vibes Super Bowl
yes.
right now between these two teams that have been very disappointing to their fan bases. My first instinct is like, man, Dallas is so bad. I don't want any part of that, but it's over a field goal and the Niners have been very disappointing. So I can't really argue against it. They're kind of like mirrors of each other in a way. I think Niners probably had a little bit higher expectations, but they've both been disappointing in similar ways.
They both have one weapon.
Yeah, well said. Both have one weapon. It's the Deebo CD show.
So we'll see.
Yeah, no argument. I like the pick. But I'm really glad. Not only did we not overlap this week, but I really, some weeks I'll be like, okay, I was kind of between two teams. I'll let him have that one so we don't overlap. This week, we truly didn't touch each other. You didn't take any teams I wanted. I'm getting all 3 of my first choices, so I love that. With my final pick of the week, I am taking, speaking of the NFC East, I almost said New England Eagles, the Philadelphia Eagles +2 against the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals are hot right now. They're kind of storming back after their tough start to the year. But we shouldn't forget how bad this defense was to start the season, and they've only really looked good against some poor, end opponents. They've not looked good against any decent offense so far this year. And Philadelphia is starting to sneakily round into form a little bit. People forget that A.J. Brown was hurt for, 5 weeks this season.
Same with Devontae Smith. He missed a game too.
Yeah, and A.J. Brown's a top 5 receiver in the NFL by basically any metric. Dude's an absolute stud and so important to this offense. So getting him back's huge. Saquon, he's hit or miss isn't the right term because he's been good week to week, but he's either good or he's the best running back in the NFL that week. And against this Bengals defense, I'm kind of seeing one of those Saquon's the best running back in the NFL type of games. This is a team with more more weapons in the skill positions than the Bengals. Obviously, I prefer Burrow over Jalen Hurts. I guess that's a matter of opinion. But they've got more offensive punch, and they also have definitely a better defense. Not that the Eagles are world beaters, but they're a very average NFL defense, and that's not where the Bengals are. So you're getting a team with, in my impression, a better offense except the quarterback and a better defense, and you're getting +2 points. So that seems like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, no, I'm into that one. I thought about it for a little bit, decided against it purely because last week what felt like Philadelphia's get-right game against the Giants, and it scared me that they won 28-3 and are about to, they have the potential to lose to the Bengals and send their season just like spiraling. So I was just a little worried about it, but I totally get where you're coming from. And I like the points there. 3 points is a good little margin for losing by a field goal and still pushing.
Totally.
All right. Does that round up our value dogs for week 8?
It sure does. Yeah, we're ready.
All right. Hey, for those of you listening or watching on YouTube, this is going to be the week that we both go 3-0. This is where we come back.